Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Brooklyn and Slapsgiving. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that while we may not always agree with everyone at a family get-together, this is an airplane where there are no rules and no consequences that we are aware of until you land.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. How you boys doing today?
Hey, I'm slapping here.
God damn it. Buddy, you can catch a flight, but you can also catch these fucking hands.
Oh my gosh. Well, gentlemen, this week we're doing a show that I've been thinking about doing for the past 3 years. When we created this podcast, we are doing the recreation of The Slap that was on NBC in 2015. But before we dive,
are you telling us about the Australian version? We come to this place to slop.
But before we dive too deep into the show, maybe you're a first-time flyer or a frequent flyer. Max, what is this podcast all about?
Today, NBC is the National Backhanding Corporation.
Hell yeah.
Oh, shit, now I gotta think of more.
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be, were originally made, if they're effective pilots in making us want to watch more, and if we think they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, normally this is where I say, what's your question of the week?
Well, Jeff, my question of the week is, what do the 5 fingers say to the face?
Slap! Charlie Murphy!
This week, I love your question of the week so much, but I think we have to do a little bit of a tease. You have to listen to more of this episode and
That's
us
right,
talk about
question of
the
the
show
week fans. You're gonna have to
before
wait.
you get to hear our answers to Rich's question of the week. But I want to reward you. I want to reward our frequent flyers with an in-flight question that I thought was so good that it starts off our episode. Our in-flight question this week comes from Terry in the DMV. And Terry asks, name and describe a show after a noun. That's it. And Terry, thank you. I just want to thank you entirely for this.
Does he mean verb?
No, because a slap is slapping is a verb. Slap is a noun.
Well, to slap is a verb, but it is a noun. It is both.
Yeah, so it can be a noun and a verb.
Because English is a very hard language to understand.
It's a very normal language that makes
we have no rules.
Yeah, exactly. Like airplanes. So Max, can you tell us what is your noun and verb? Verb?
Today's show, The Slap, it is based on a novel. It's an adaptation, and so I'm going to go with something that is also an adaptation. I'm going to explain this in a second, and I'm going with The Poop, which is an adaptation of the podcast Who Shat on the Floor at Our Wedding, which is an investigative journalistic piece to find out the answer of who shat on the floor at our wedding. So yes, we are going to have a star-studded cast for this miniseries, The Poop.
Now, I never actually listened to that podcast, but I did hear tell that the person who made the podcast also might have done it. Like, that was the surprise ending?
That's your third act twist, man.
No, that's a psychopath who made a podcast over something crazy she did.
Rich, I mean, you had a very solid question. Is a slap a verb? Is a slap a noun? But I'm curious, what is the TV show that you're going to pitch that is a single word?
So here's what I did. I did it incorrectly, and I instead took an existing TV show and changed it to a 2015 NBC verb title. And that's where I'm taking you guys to The Blackout, a.k.a. Mad Men. I feel like almost everything, almost every plot point hinges on Don Draper drinking too much.
It's like a Popeye spinach situation.
Less fun than The Poop. We should have saved The Poop for last.
I was literally, Max, before you said that, I was thinking The Toot, Who farted it's always an episode. It can be very similar to the slap, right? Where you see different perspectives of someone in a situation where someone farted. But I'm going to give a slightly different variation of this, and I'm going to say the Billy Goat. I want a show that is about the Billy Goat curse of the Chicago Cubs. And it can be serious or it can be non-serious, but it can take us through the different times in the Chicago Cubs, like curse-based period, if this makes sense.
I know watching them lose dramatically.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it could be a lot of fun, right? I think that there's definitely an audience, and it belongs on NBC because they have the NBC Chicago universe, which is very, very deep and historic.
So this is a procedural. This is a procedural about
yep.
Steve Bartman.
Well, Terry, thank you so much for that in-flight question. If you have an in-flight question that you'd like to submit to the show, you can submit those at tvpilotslicense.com, or you can shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. Let's talk a little bit more about the slap. And we're going to start off with a synopsis. A once happy family suddenly begins to fall apart following a seemingly minor incident in which a man slaps another couple's misbehaving child.
Oh, buddy. You couldn't even get through the opening.
Well, we know how IMDb feels about this, but Max, can you tell us a little bit more about how this show got made?
Today, we're talking about the premiere episode. It's a mini-series, so I'm not really going to say pilot, of The Slap, titled Hector, which originally aired on February 12th, 2015 on NBC. And we're talking about a familiar face a bit more of John Robin Bates. Recently covered during our Dr. Odyssey episode, Bates is a two-time Pulitzer Prize finalist as a playwright and has recently played a major role in the works of the greater Ryan Murphy universe with his involvement in Feud, Capote vs. the Swans, Grotesquerie, and the recent release All's Fair.
How much slapping is in the Feud, Capote versus the Swans?
You know, I haven't seen Capote vs. the Swans. I couldn't tell you. We'll have to cover it. The Slap first originated as a novel released in 2008 by author Christos Tsiolkas. I apologize so much to you, Christos. Winning numerous awards and being on the list of consideration for the Booker Prize. In 2011, the book was adapted as a miniseries for ABC One, that's the Australian broadcasting company, and it was considered a major success, winning multiple awards at the AACTA Awards, the Australian equivalent of the BAFTAs or Academy Awards. Melissa George, who plays Rosie, the mother of the child that receives the titular slap, also appears in the original Australian version in the same role. Apart from a swap of Melbourne for Brooklyn, the American remake focuses much more on the physical act of the slap and its ramifications, and less on the cultural issues surrounding Mediterranean immigrants in Australia that play a major version in the original novel.
That's fascinating that they thought that they could potentially make this about whether or not we're okay with Greek people in New York. I'm like, yeah, dog, have you been to Astoria?
I feel like we can talk about that, especially in this episode, right? Because they want to make it an issue, but also I feel like there were some notes.
Yeah, like I'll get back to my stuff, but like let me tell you, when I was researching this and learning about like this author's background and their cultural and political views, I learned a lot of Australian slurs for different ethnic groups that I was unaware of, and I'm not going to repeat on this podcast.
Whoa,
and
wait.
so
that's for Max's other podcast.
And so to take those themes and really wash them out of this entirely, and there's other things too. They change the order of the episodes because each one focuses on a different person's perspective.
They rush them on it.
It feels like they took this idea of this novel and this miniseries that was about different people's backgrounds. Characters aren't even in certain episodes of the Australian one. It deals with a lot of cultural impact, and they boiled it down to an action and consequences. Like they really simplified what it is. So I'm curious to get into that.
Well, Max, you know where they should have said it? Palmdale. Or the Finger Lakes. Bam.
Palm Beach?
Palm Beach, yeah.
Palm Beach. West
The,
Palm Beach.
the reputation of the slap of the decade since may be better summed up by the success of YouTube sketches like The Slap 2, currently at 127 million views,
Yes.
and remake of The Slap featuring Draculas.
Yeah.
Today's episode
Shout out
is
Joe
directed by Lisa Cholodenko, best known for helming the 2010 Academy Award nominated film The Kids Are All Right and the 2014 Emmy-winning miniseries Olive Kitteridge.
All right.
Sweet.
Well, let's dive in, right? And what a way to start off a show that I was not expecting a out-of-place narration, but with a narration, a blank screen, and a man dealing with a midlife crisis in
And
an
not
office
just
space.
any voiceover, not just any narration.
That's right.
That's Victor Garber, baby. That's
right.
Alias. That's Legally Blonde right there, baby.
That it makes me upset that Victor Garber is in this show, but we don't actually get to see him because
Disembodied Victor Garber.
we're going to talk about more of the actors and actresses that are in this show and maybe why it's appropriate to not have a member of this family be, or a member of this group be the narrator of this show. But there's something to it about at the beginning, I'm like, all right, cool. Victor Garber's our narrator. We're going to meet Victor Garber in this pilot, right? Fuck you. Instead, we're
Absolutely
not.
When are we
Absolutely
going to
not.
get to the Victor Garber factory?
Yeah.
Wait, but like, are you really upset about it because we got like all of 2019? This is essentially was like a breeding ground for HBO executives to start casting people for shows that came out in 2019.
Yeah, I'm a little bit upset about it. Like I am a little bit upset that you have Victor Garber, who I think is a fantastic actor and does great in a drama situation, and you're just using him to like in a voice booth, right? Like you're using him in a booth when you can use him on screen in
Yeah, you
some
could have gotten
shape or
John
form.
McEnroe to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I expect John McEnroe just to be a disembodied voice referencing himself in the third person.
Oh, you
Like,
want to talk
that is-
about pro slapping?
Yeah, exactly.
Give John McEnroe a voice in this.
But I think we're not focusing on something that's very important, gentlemen. How many martini glasses do you expect a government building to have in it to celebrate your 40th birthday? Because I counted at least 25 of them in that scene, and that is a concerning number of martini glasses.
Every single person in this office birthday party looks like they are there with a gun to their head. These people are smiling like they are in the Soundgarden Black Hole Sun music video. This is the most uncanny valley office birthday party I have ever seen. The laughter is haunting. The smiles are terrifying. I wanted out of that fluorescent lit hellhole so bad.
But I'm going to challenge you a little bit on this, on why I think it's important that they establish this.
That they look unhappy.
We have to establish that Hector is miserable. We have to establish
Totally.
the idea that Hector at 40 just sees life absolutely not going his way in every single capacity, right? Whether it is being passed up for a promotion because he is not diverse, which is an interesting thing I don't think this show talked about, but they really sort of like give their view within 30 seconds. Whether it is not being happy in his marriage, whether it is not being happy in his workplace, they really, at the beginning of this show, very much established that the only thing that is making Hector happy is this woman that we know nothing about named Cassie. And that is it. And it's pretty intriguing to me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't expect his wife to be named Connie, right?
Or was it Connie?
Connie.
Oh, yeah, Connie, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they do a very good tease of like, oh, the only person that's on his mind is Connie. As like, oh, that's his wife. Nope.
Nope.
Nope, that's an underage babysitter.
Well, what? Oh, God, I almost quoted one of our former guests, John Marco Ceresi, on what is happening in
Oh,
this.
no, don't bring up that bit. Not on this podcast. Not on this podcast.
What a week to bring up that bit. No, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about this idea, though, Max. When we go into Hector's home. We see what life is like, and we get a little bit more detail of this unhappiness in general. Are you buying into Peter Sarsgaard's performance as Hector, as just being miserable in this gigantic house in Brooklyn?
I mean, if Peter Sarsgaard's goal is to just be like a miserable prick, he's doing a really good job of it. He is turning 40. He fantasizes about affairs with much, much younger women, and he's got an affinity for jazz. No one has ever gone through more of a midlife crisis than Peter Sarsgaard has.
I do appreciate, though, that Peter Sarsgaard did want to become a big-time actor because he could very easily just play past Ralph Fiennes for his entire career and made out really great with it. No one agrees.
So I am curious about, for the two of you, while we are learning a bit more about Connie, I have a question that I haven't asked either of you in a bit, which is the intro sequence that we're given, this title card sequence that we're given in this. Did you guys like it? The maps and the map that looked and resembled a hand, the leading down a subway map, to be able to see that this is the intersection of the story that we'll be talking about today? Or did you think it was a little bit too tongue-in-cheek?
That felt very tongue-in-cheek for me.
Yeah, and Geoff, this kind of feels like
really
a moment ago where you were trying to justify the office birthday party as like really ambitious lighting and scenic design choices. I'm like, I don't think it's that deep, man. Like, I don't think any of these details that are trying to present some bigger picture are necessarily effective. And I think that's just such a common thing through this episode, is that the slap takes itself so seriously. It believes that everything that it is telling you through visual, through auditory, through character choices, like everyone is playing this at a 10 the entire time. And like there could be a solid 6 or 7 in here, but they're playing it so big that it just feels so hokey so often.
Every single character is playing end of their rope the entire time. And it does feel like what I will say is that they're trying to accomplish two things. They're trying to conceal who does the slapping, which I think they do a good job. They're like, we know it's going to happen. We don't know when. We don't know who it's going to be. And
how funny would it be if it didn't happen in episode 1? And
I
we're
would
still
have
talking about.
I would have not shown up to record today.
But it's not Murder on the Orient Express. It's the slap. Like, why?
There's only one of them. They didn't call it the slaps. They called it the slap.
I will watch Agatha Christie Presents the Slap any day.
I want to move forward a little bit because we're leading up to this big family get-together, right? Hector's 40th birthday party that he seemingly does not want, or really is we're gaining momentum going into this moment. And I think one of the ways that the show really tries to do that is by giving us a bunch of different characters, rich, as you said, that are all different sorts of levels, all different sorts of perceptions. So we don't know who is going to be slapping in this instance. Who's going to be giving out the singular slap? How do you think about this gathering, Max? Do you think it gives a good idea of being realistic, of maybe not having the greatest but forcing a relationship with your family, or did you get something else from it?
Well, what I think it does is it gets you all in one place, which is very like catalyst event build up. We need to get ourselves in a location, and we need to start to put together people that are going to have different levels of conflict with one another to build that powder keg. My personal favorite person in this entire room, far and away, is Penn Badgley. As the young, dumb, himbo actor boyfriend of Uma Thurman, which amazing get Uma Thurman for this show.
Yeah.
Penn Badgley looking like the pinnacle of indie sleaze, looking like I wanted to look in 2015 more than anything, and trying with various degrees of success. He's my hero in this because he just he just keeps to himself. He just keeps to himself. He makes conversation with everyone, and he causes zero problems at this birthday party. He's a great guest.
Is this TV show the center console of my car? Because I see an underutilized pen in there.
Yeah. No. I
like that.
I refuse. I want to talk about the concept of what the Australian show was focusing on, and I think this show sort of skirts around, right? Which is the concept of Greek immigrants in this show being they try to really focus on the idea that, hey, the parents are both straight out of Greece, right? They've come to the U.S., they have made a life for their children, and they were able to provide to them to get to a certain level of success, as well as a close-knit enough relationship that there are cousins and all this sort of stuff.
Rich, what broke you?
Rich is losing his mind right now for the audio audience. So,
I'm afraid that I'm gonna give away the slap too early. But I just thought about it's Zachary Quinto giving the old grease lighted.
Well, Rich is losing his mind. Max, I'm curious for you, because we have, rather than having a bunch of different folks trying to present as Greek, we focus on the parents being these Greek immigrants instead. One of which is Brian Cox, which I was not expecting to see on my screen.
No.
Nor with that accent. How do you think? What do you think, just in general, of the introduction of the parents?
I gotta just talk about Brian Cox's accent work here. I'm so sorry. He's an incredible actor. He's been for decades and decades, but this man has such a thick Scottish accent, and he is trying to layer a Greek accent over the Scottish accent, and it keeps going in and out, and there's words where he gets like the little Greek cadences on, and there's entire stretches where it's just Scottish. He is trying so hard to pull off this duality, and it is not working. And I love you, Brian Cox, but oh my God, this is a batshit accent you attempt. To your question, though, the intro of the parents, I think that having this overbearing parental unit, this conflict with Tandy Newton's character of like the relationship with in-laws, and also something of the person who is not Greek who's introduced into that, is important. Peter Sarsgaard seems to also just hate his wife, and we sort of see how he maybe like kowtows to his parents a little bit and their wishes in here. Everything just is setting up this big circle of conflict. Like every single person in this room could probably find a way to pick a fight with every other person in the room if we gave them time.
Do you think that at some point John Stamos watched this and they're like, they didn't get a single fucking Greek actor for this?
They tried. They got everyone but John Stamos for this pilot. They were just like too Greek for this show about a Greek family. Before we dive into more of the folks that we meet in this birthday party, both family and chosen family, Max, you put an important question in our notes that I feel like we need to address. I don't think we'll do this pilot justice if we don't address this, and that is, who makes better desserts, the Greeks or the Jews, which the mom said in one of the most anti-Semitic ways I have ever heard in my entire life.
Oh boy. I'll go first. I'm going to say the Greeks. I don't particularly. I'm not a big fan of arugula.
But there's more than just rugula, though. That's a
but a lot of quote unquote Jewish desserts are derived from the immigrants of the places that those people came from. So
that's very true.
It is like it's an amalgamation of Eastern European treats that are quote unquote Jewish or not Jewish.
Do I think Italian rainbow cookies are Jewish delights? Yes, but they're literally Italian rainbow cookies. Right. It has nothing to
But that's the Jewish diaspora. That's we have the Italian rainbow cookies. We also have things like baklava. We also have like butter cookies with chocolate chips in them, and we're like, it's a Jewish dessert.
yeah, the Hershey Kiss, which was promised to us, to our forefathers.
I mean, yeah, like there are. If you were to tell me that rice pudding was like, there are two different versions of rice pudding, it's true. There are. They both. So that line in particular, I was just like, wait a minute. I think we might be confused right now, and we need to have a larger conversation of why that line was written in this script.
Yeah, they couldn't have picked a different way to do that. They couldn't picked like maybe another nationality to do that.
Oh God, I am not even going to ask that question. What's the nationality you want to put in there? But Max, I mean,
who makes the
say the French?
Who makes the worst desserts?
The wasps. Okay, Max. I mean,
have you ever had carrot cake? Sorry, chantilly cream.
We can debate.
Have you
that
ever
later.
subbed in applesauce for brownies?
Jesus.
Max, I sort of referenced it a little bit earlier. There's not just family at this gathering. There is also chosen and extended family at this gathering. And I'm curious if there were any folks that you were super intrigued by their performance, especially given that you did some research for the show before it.
I mean, I'm intrigued by this character of Gary, played by Thomas Sadowski, the father of the boy Hugo, who eventually is slapped. And it's implied that he's this struggling artist. He's a little left of center, he's a little loosey-goosey, but he's played by the most, like, uptight, NIMBY-looking guy imaginable. And this character of Gary, who has a rivalry with Harry, which, listen, as a writer, you cannot have your big rivals be Harry and Gary. I'm sorry.
You gotta go back to the writing room on that one.
You gotta come up with a second option there. He doesn't, to me, embody what his character is supposed to represent, because you have this person of Harry come in who he immediately is like, where am I going to park my Range Rover? I'm going to get mugged. It's Brooklyn. While they're surrounded by the nicest brownstones I have ever seen.
I know. Those are all $2 million brownstones minimum.
In 2015,
I was so prepared for Hector to be like, hey, you can just park here, where there was clearly a no parking sign and a fire hydrant. I was ready for that joke to happen, and I was slapped in the face with, no, you do not get this very funny setup that could happen.
I'm intrigued about this character of Gary because he's supposed to sort of represent this other. He is different than Uma Thurman, who plays this big, like, Broadway producer and casting agent. He's different than Harry, who is this rich yuppie who can only appreciate art based on dollar signs. He's different than Hector, who is this big shot in city politics. Yet I don't feel like he is another. And so I don't understand, like, what his character's motivations are. And I think that's a tough thing for a lot of people in this, where it's like, I don't understand necessarily where you're coming from. I don't know your whys. I don't know, like, who you are.
Yeah.
I want to hit on this really quickly because I think I don't want to make excuses for this show, right? Nor am I trying to make excuses for the show. It's more prompting interesting conversation from the two of you. But what if I said that I think Gary, in this instance, was just to be an antagonist and to rile up a Harry, right?
Right.
We do see Harry is very easy to become flippant, is a little bit of a hothead in these situations, extremely, it appears off of first glance, very easily thinks that people are picking on him, and probably not for good reason. So having someone who is his direct opposite, literally there's the conversation that comes up in the pilot of like, hey, I don't think we'll agree on anything. What about Nazis? Which I was just like, oh, let's see where this goes. But Rich, I'm curious about you. What do you think about the Gary Harry situation?
They leaned too far away from it being a Republican versus Democrat thing. It sounded like that's where they were trying to take it, where it was like if they had any if they had any foresight, they probably would have tried to do like a democratic socialist vibe for Gary. Also, the fact that neither of you guys brought up Aaron Sorkin's The Newsroom while discussing this character,
I was ready
very alone.
I was ready for Thomas Sadowski to tell me who died on an airplane in 2015.
We have compromised to a permanent end, Osama bin Laden.
He needs to reveal who slapped the kid.
Two pilots walk out onto the deck somehow from nowhere.
Nothing about Aaron Sorkin's The Newsroom has prepared me more for journalism to just be about professional tattletaling. Okay. They really did. It felt like they were trying to honor the original part of this too much. Like, we don't have the same view of Greek immigrants that Australians do. And I didn't know that Australians had a problem with so many people individually. That feels very Texan of them. But it's like, we have an entire giant Greek neighborhood in Queens. Like, that's not a thing here. And what they could have done, instead of making this a rich versus, like, they like almost made him like try to be like a Bernie bro, but they like fell short of that. They really needed to reimagine this, because you have way too much star power at this dinner table for that to be the inciting event.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's old Brooklyn versus new Brooklyn. It doesn't feel like it's an us versus them. These two people, their mannerisms, their appearances, they feel like they're cut from the same cloth.
They shouldn't have made them white, to be honest. If I'm recasting, they shouldn't have made those characters white. They should have added another element to it.
That would have been a super interesting choice, too, to try to cast a little bit more diversity in this cast that is very, very, very white.
They made them two Park Slope, like, young couple-y to make this
Welcome
worthwhile.
to Brooklyn, the Parts of Brooklyn podcast.
Look, man, I mean, we've had a whole history of films, from Moonstruck to My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and yet we could only get the finest Scotsman to play our Greek patriarch in this show.
It does feel insulting that they didn't use a single person from My Big Fat Greek Wedding to take Brian Cox's part.
Not a single one of them.
Insane.
Imagine they do it. They get John Corbett from Sex and the City.
Hell yeah!
Fuck, we messed up.
Yeah, never have I ever thought like there would be so much underutilized talent in one TV show.
I do want to talk about two characters that we have not really brought up that much, and that is Richie and Connie in this, because Connie is alluded to, right? She is this 18-year-old girl that is, it is confirmed 18. Max,
he shows up at her place of work silently.
Yeah, 18-year-old girl that is having some form of a relationship with a soon-to-be, if not already, 40-year-old man.
Yes.
And then her friend Richie, who I think when they said, I'll pay you a penny for a photo, I was just like, how old are you, 135? Like, that's not how this works anymore.
We can see your house, Hector.
Yeah.
I think that was a joke. Was that not a joke? Because he's shooting it for like an art piece or whatever?
He's just shooting it. I think Lucas Hedges is a nice bright spot in this show. This was, Max, we were actually texting about this before we recorded, that this was sort of like at the beginning of that little time period where Lucas Hedges was in everything. Like he was in every single thing. And you could see, especially in that scene between Hector and Richie, where Hector's washing his hands or something of that sort, and then Richie snaps the photo, that there's some really good pieces of acting in this that are scattered amongst a lot of what did I just watch? What's happening right now?
I think for Hector to be so obsessive and to have these fantasies as they relate to Connie, and then to introduce this character of Richie, who like sort of plays a voyeuristic element into this episode of
he's
taking
pictures.
picture.
Evidence.
Yeah, like, but like taking pictures, lurking in the shadows, like capturing moments that we don't see as an audience on camera, and so sort of establishing like we don't know what else he's photographed is interesting. It's a little like golly gee mister for me at certain parts. Like I do think his character is a little one note as like the teenage kid, but it does add at least one element of a person at this party who feels different, like systemically and like socioeconomically from everyone else here.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
go for it, Rich.
No, it's okay. We can keep moving.
I feel like it's time to talk about it. I feel like we have to talk about the slap. Before we really get into it, how much of a monster...
Everybody get up. It's time to slap now.
How much of a monster is the character of Hugo, who is a 5-year-old child?
Dog.
Max,
Every person's nightmare.
As a dad, I would like to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit, especially a dad that's alone in your house right now. Your child's nowhere near, so give us your honest opinions.
Not my kid. Would be my kid, tell you that much right now.
We keep our slapping at home.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No. But Max, in all honesty, I think that we all have those moments where we see a child or a family in public and we say, what the hell is happening in this situation? And I'd be very surprised if the two of you also did not have that reaction of, well, this child is a monster that is being let loose on this family.
Yeah, Hugo is an absolute heathen. And what's interesting about the slap is earlier on, we do see Peter Sarsgaard put hands on the kid. And in my head, I was like, is it coming? Is this it? Is this the slap? They're going to do the slap already? It's going to happen in the kitchen?
That's the grand tease. That's the Penn and Tellering of the...
And then he lets him go. And I'm like, oh, we didn't get the slap. But we see him like be a menace in every single room of Peter Sarsgaard's house that it's a matter of time. My question, though, is we're playing wiffle ball in the yard when shit finally goes down. Who even let a wood bat out there? Also, that is the skinniest stick ball looking ass bat I have ever seen. But we're playing wiffle ball and they let the kid have a like legit wood bat. That's irresponsible too.
Yeah. No, the parents are being pretty negligent this entire thing. That is it is a culmination of a shitstorm of not watching your kids.
But we do get the slap, right? We have Zachary Quinto's character of Harry. I keep on having to look at my notes of like it's Zach's Harry instead of Gary, because that's why you don't name characters that similarly. We get Zachary Quinto's character slapping the ever-loving shit out of you.
And they didn't even name him Gary as in Greek Harry. if they flipped him around.
That's what Gary stands for,
this
right?
Is why you hire Rich Inman as a script supervisor.
I like to imagine, because like they always say like you shouldn't name too many characters like names that have the same first letter too, because when you're doing final draft it like tries to autocorrect to the wrong one. You think they just like mixed up some Harry and Hector lines too?
It's not like the weird family from your neighborhood that name where everyone has the same first letter starting their name.
But we were building up this tension to this point, right? Like throughout the entire episode, we know that a slap is going to happen. Otherwise, Rich would not be here right now. So, I mean, what did you think of not only how they portrayed this moment itself, but did it deserve the aftermath that we were given by all of these characters in this episode? Rich.
It's a satisfying slap, baby.
Oh my god!
It's everything you want. The WWE could have learned something from that slap. It is a softy style boiling point moment to leading up to that slap. They are trying to give this credence to like understanding this is going to be a moral dilemma. and you're gonna question whose side you're on and why, and how you would have done things in that moment. This is like a dramatized version of that old ABC show, What Would You Do? And I don't know, man. And I'm sorry that I burned Grease Lightning so early, but there's no other way to describe it. Zachary Quinto winds up and just absolutely clocks that kid.
Yeah, man, he got him with the Iliad and the Odyssey.
I think that the aftermath of this is so interesting, though, right? Seeing how
Bam Bam Baklava.
Jesus Christ. Great Greek dessert. Now, I mean, Max, I'm curious for you, seeing how all of these different characters react in this moment in time, right? To seeing a child being slapped by not their parent. We could talk about the idea of whether or not that form of punishment is good or not good. That's an entirely different podcast. But what do you think of the aftermath?
Until I ask you my question.
Go ahead, Max.
Sorry, what's my question?
What do you think of the aftermath of this?
Oh,
of this slap?
okay. I mean, yeah, party's over. No shit. Like, everyone's got to go home.
Party's over, but only 2 people leave.
There's only a few ways to end a party. One, you run out of beer. Second, you slap a 5-year-old in the face.
So here's what I will say. I was actually surprised that it was not Peter Sarsgaard who committed the slap. I kind of thought that this was going to be, man, what if you were 40 and you got passed up for promotion and you had a crush on an 18-year-old and you were going to get sued for hitting a kid? Like, I thought it was just going to pile on to how do we make this the worst day of this man's life? And putting him in the situation of having to, like, I guess, like, get a moral conscience and, like, grow a spine and now decide, like, whose side is he on, puts him in the middle of this in an interesting way. Connie, girl, why are you cleaning up beer bottles? Why are you cleaning up? This is not your place to be at.
Right.
Go home. Go hang out with Richie. Get out of there. Penn Badgley, you're unproblematic. Keep doing you, man.
Keep having unheard conversations by a bowl of lemons in the kitchen.
The thing that gets me is at the very end when we finally bring back Victor Garber as, like, we conclude our post-slap resolutions of the slap saved him from a disastrous mistake. And it's like, oh, see, the slap was a good thing. It saved Hector. Like, Hector would be in such a worse place if a kid didn't get hit at his house.
Yeah, if he didn't serve slap-a-copita at the party.
I mean, Rich, as far as this pilot is what we'll call it, right? Sure. Even though it's a mini-series, this pilot does sort of try to tie up some loose ends before we go to a black screen and we end this episode. Were there any other moments of this aftermath that stood out to you that maybe you wanted to discuss?
Well, I feel like we also get the second... We get yet another thing that piles on to Hector in that Uma Thurman sees him holding hands with Connie. That's another, like, big aspect of this. And, there is just, and I was thinking the same thing, Max, where I thought, I really thought, oh my God, Richie was going to, no, I'm sorry. I thought Hector was going to be the slapper.
Would it be better if an 18-year-old slapped a 5-year-old rather than Zachary Quinto slapping a 5-year-old?
And we'll talk about it more when it comes to, like, whether or not we're watching more of this show. But we do get a good amount of, oh my God, what is going to happen to everyone? Because, like, there's a couple people that I want to see the aftermath of this. There's a couple people that I couldn't give less of a fuck about. But it is very much like a... they do it in kind of like a murder mystery way where it's just like everyone's a little guilty of something, but who's the one who's actually going to face real consequences for this? And yeah, I'm excited to see what Aisha's hiding. I'm excited to see, like, what the probably insidious nature of how Uma Thurman and Penn Badgley got together with the power dynamic there. And yeah, I mean, I think they have set this up very well to be like, oh, okay, I need to see more Rashomon perspectives of this.
So that's our pilot, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about things that we loved about this pilot, things that you want to give a little bit more shine to. Max, any things that you loved about this pilot that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, my queen Uma Thurman giving a bunch of pre-rolled joints as a birthday gift to Peter
dog.
Sarsgaard for his 40th birthday. She's got herself her until we find out that maybe it's nefarious. I don't know. Her younger hunk in Indie Sleaze Penn Badgley. She's giving out weed as birthday presents. She is witnessing some nefarious action amongst her friend, but she generally seems to be uninvolved with any of the issues or things that build us to our boiling point in today's episode. She's just living her best Brooklyn theater life.
Rich, what about you?
I really liked Thandie Newton's ability to never get below a 10 at anger wise. just angry at her husband for 45 straight minutes. She does not change her character or demeanor whatsoever the entire time.
All right. This is going to sound out of character for me, but fuck it. Sex on a kitchen table with Valium and cigarettes. Boy, does that sound like a great 40th birthday. Just do that. Don't have the fucking birthday party. If you were to offer me that or a 40th birthday party, I'd probably...
He tried to just do that. He tried to just have that.
He tried his hardest, and guess what? He got a party, cake, and that. What a day. What a great day. What about wait a minute moments? Things that cause you pause.
How the fuck old is Hugo that he's still breastfeeding? That is scary. That is a scary sight.
I'm glad you brought this up because I think that this show does do an interesting thing about bringing up this stigma of public breastfeeding, but also
with a kid that's way too old.
The issue is not the public breastfeeding here.
To a fucking 15 by being like, what if public breastfeeding with a 5-year-old? Like that is so much.
That kid doesn't even look 5. Like this kid, if you can do a book report, you shouldn't be breastfeeding. And that's a Rich Inman seal of approval on that one.
Oh, wait till we come out with the daily calendar with those bits of wisdom. Max, what about you?
I mean, this is more of like a broad scale wait a minute moment, but I gotta go with the fact that like every single freaking show on like a streamer now is just what the Slap was a decade ago. None of them are drama series. They're all events. No, you're not an event. Don't give yourself that much credit. They all have a star-studded cast with way too many award winners. They're all 8 episodes, each from a different person's perspective, and they all suck. Every single show is just the Slap. The streaming era of TV is just more slaps. We have created 10 different networks of peak TV or prestige TV that are just variations of the Slap. I can see 10 different shows right now that are the Slap in various circumstances. It sucks.
Yeah, for myself, I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, right? The concept of the show really tries to make a big deal out of that this family is Greek, right? And having it in New York seems really out of place, if that makes sense, if that's going to be a thing, right?
That's how few black and brown people are in Australia, that they have to start being angry at the Greeks.
Like, I don't want to tell on any place in specific of where I would cast it so that it would make more sense that people were upset about a Greek family. But I think that those places do, in fact, exist. And we could have tried a little bit harder as far as picking one of those for this show. Rich, we have one more question. And instead of an in-flight question, it's your question. It's Rich's question of the week. So why don't you give us Rich's question of the week?
Guys, we're doing a speed debate. You have been given your question ahead of time, and that is, are you pro or against the ethical implications of this slap? So are you saying, yes, Zachary Quinto deserved to slap that kid, or Hugo deserved to be slapped? Or B, morally wrong? Are you against why that slap should not have, or argue for why that slap should not have occurred? I'm going to give you each 60 seconds, but you are not going to know what you're not going to know what side you're taking until right now. until right now. So I have a random number generator right here. 1 is the affirmative. 2 is the negative. Negative is you are arguing that the slap should not have happened. And so, Geoff, you are going to go first, and you are arguing against the slap,
Great.
which means, Max, you are arguing for the slap.
Fantastic.
And
before you do this, I just want to really make sure that we protect ourselves from being clipped. We are doing this as a comedy podcast, and these views might not be our own because Rich is a fucking maniac.
Well, I can't wait for that to be edited out of future clips.
And Rich is a man. I act.
All right,
all right.
Rich, you ready?
Yeah, all right. And your time starts now.
All right, so while I understand that in heated moments, we tend to not be in control. I can't see the clock,
That's
but
okay.
it's
I'm
okay.
gonna
I don't
hold
need that time. We don't tend to be in control of ourselves and our actions at times. I think that violence is never the first course of action, especially with a child that you are that much larger than. Zachary Quinto is 6'1". That child maybe stands at 50 pounds. You can lift that child up. You can take that child to the parents, and you can say, get that child out of this fucking party and have an argument with Gary, your name nemesis. I don't think that there's ever a time where another adult should be physical with another kid's child, not to make it serious. But yeah, Zachary Quinto, you're picking on a 5-year-old? Who the fuck are you? You like have Tony and Emmy nominations. Go and fucking deal with it. All right, Max,
And
you're
that's
up.
time. Geoff says, slap the fuck out of Gary. turn that slap to Gary's face. All right,
slap the parents. Don't slap the kid.
All right, Max, your time starts now.
Sometimes reason isn't enough. Sometimes words aren't enough. If this kid cannot absolutely control himself and is disruptive and is a danger to those around him, swinging a bat in a public space, you need to do its best to protect your children, your family. And that's what it comes down to. Every once in a while, you got to take it back to the old country a little bit. And that's what we're getting at. So listen. It's not something that you're going to do time and time again. But if those parents are just going to be so disengaged, so oblivious to the actual safety that is causing other people's children, every one of those kids could have been hit with a bat at any moment. I'm not saying it's the right call, but I am saying that Harry could have saved a 5-year-old's life in that moment at that party. So look, if that's what it takes to keep other people safe, sometimes the wrong thing is the right thing in this situation.
And that's time. Damn. Both of you guys, succinct points in 1 minute. Well done. Neither of you guys win. The only answer is a golden dome protecting Zachary Quinto.
All right. Well, Rich, thank you so much for your question of the week. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this show. This show, as it was, NBC sort of did some interesting stuff here where they called it a miniseries, but then they were like, maybe we bring it back. And that brings Slap 2, Electric Boogaloo. But they very much were like, well, we're not renewing it because it was a miniseries, but like also there were contracts out there. So who knows? I do want to say that, Max, it's really funny that you're bringing up Uma Thurman as a casting choice because she was the second choice because Mary Louise Parker was originally cast in that role, but she got pneumonia, so they had to ask Uma Thurman if she wanted to be in the show.
She was busy. She was in the weeds.
Yeah. As far as viewership, this show just suffered from it in general. They gave it a weird time slot. It debuted with 5.13 million people, which in 2015, not enough. Then they started trying to move it around to find the slot of people. But when you only have 8 episodes to do that, that really confuses the limited audience that you have to try to find a show that they may or may not be interested in. This show was nominated for 3 awards. And could you imagine if I said it won them all? It won 0 of them. And that is the history of this show.
Beautiful.
Rich, it's time for your game of the week, unless that debate was your game.
That was my game, baby. Thanks for playing Rich's game of the week.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I have 2 questions for you.
Testing your
The
moral
first,
slaptitude.
the first being, You watched The Slap. Do you want to see its follow-up series, The Aftermath? And the second question is, Max, you sort of referenced it, right? What Netflix, Hulu, all of these streamers are trying to do are take these singular events and turn them into larger series. Some of them comedic, some of them drama-based in this instance. And I'm curious, do you think shows like this have a place in your TV watching appetite? Or maybe just like give us something else?
Max, is the thing you shit on all of the streaming networks for going to be something that you argue for?
the other thing, the other noun show that Max loves, The Floor. So, Rich, I'm curious.
All right, this is going to be a huge shocker to both of you, but I'm watching another slap. I will say I'm only watching it if they slap the kid every single episode. I'm talking slow motion. I'm talking
he wants
different
to see a
angles.
Backhand. He wants to
I'm
see
talking from down below. Bam. I'm watching Hugo get slapped in every iteration of this thing. There's just too many good actors in this for me not to be compelled by what they're going to bring to other episodes. I mean, the fact that you have to have like Penn Badgley in your back pocket, that's crazy. This is I do think the show is going to get better. I think Brian Cox is going to be better. I think throwing some more attention Uma Thurman's way is going to get better. It is too good of a cast. I love every person that's in this show. It is insane to me when we picked this show and I looked at the cast and did not realize that there are so many like future Emmy nominees and winners in this. But yeah, when it comes to web series, or I'm sorry, not web series, short form series. Yeah. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of that. I think it is the buy-in of I feel like that's kind of like the new way that we are doing TV in general. Like seasons of arguably the most watched TV show of this past year, Severance, it's 10 episode seasons. It's essentially a mini series again. Just with multiple seasons. So it is the midway buy-in. I don't know how we're going to get around that. I just watched Death by Lightning, which is like a rapid 4 episodes. Like it is very, very short. We just did Chad Powers, which is 6, not to compare the two. But yeah, I'm saying yes, watching more. I'm saying we are not escaping the mini series hell that we are in.
Max?
I can't do it, man. As much as I want to learn about the mysterious ways of Uma Thurman, I just cannot bring myself to get to episode 2.
Hell yeah.
For all of the acting firepower, there's just nothing that I feel is given to these characters or to this world. It is all text, no subtext. There's nothing that I want to really get to the bottom of here. And Rich, what I'll challenge you on your second part is that everything you named are shows that have like a real, like, I guess, singular plot about them, whereas what like angers me are these things where it's like it's an ensemble of people and we're just kind of dealing with their rich, mostly white domestic woes.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
There's so many of those on Peacock and on Hulu where they're just like, we take a bunch of people who are all sort of indistinguishable from one another and we create some sort of domestic folly, and we watch as maybe their lives are slightly inconvenienced for a moment of time by this, or people get murdered, either or. But I know they're going to keep coming because they're just acting toward to force opportunities. You can just cram as many people there as possible and give them one moment. But for me, it's just not the kind of TV that I want to engage with.
All right,
Geoff. Break the tie.
God. So when we picked this to do this, I thought, wow, this is going to be like when we do those ABC family shows, you know, or Freeform or CW, where it's just like, we're just going to rag on this and I'm going to have a great old time. And then I watched it and I literally stopped my TV and I thought about it. For like 5 minutes, I just sort of sat there staring at the Roku City, which is beautiful, by the way.
Oh, no. You had to overlook Roku City?
I overlooked at Roku City, and I thought to myself, wow, Hector would have loved this landscape, the architect that he is. And then I watched every single episode in under 24 hours. I finished the entire show.
What?
How?
How?
Wait, hold on. Like yesterday?
So I started the show to give our audience a little bit of a sneak preview. We normally record on Fridays. We're recording on a Saturday. I watched this on Thursday at 5, and I finished every single episode between then and Friday.
You did a straight shot binge watch of The Slap?
Yeah, dog.
I did. And I normally would open this to questions. Because Max looks so
I don't have a
stunned.
question, but more of a statement. I win, but but at what cost?
And what I will say to our audience who maybe chose to watch the pilot, maybe are thinking, give this an episode 2. This show has some amazing performances in it.
Okay.
Some truly amazing performances. And given the nature of the type of show that it is, where we focus on a character while having the rest of the cast appear, you have opportunities to just let some really great actors just act, like just go straight at it. And in particular, the 2 episodes that I will call out that I think are really important in this is Brian Cox's episode is just an amazing episode. It is fantastic. It gives you everything you wish you knew at the beginning of this show. And Uma Thurman's episode is one of the most devastating episodes of TV I've watched in a little bit. Where I was just like, wow, I understand this character a lot more. I understand the way that they are, but also I love that they gave us this. And then she barely shows up in the rest of the show, and I'm fine with it.
She had commitments, baby.
So what I will say is, do I recommend my media consumption schedule? No. But do I recommend watching more of this show? Yes, sort of. Depends on you. But what I will say about shows like this is, Max, to your comment, these are tour de force opportunities. Yeah. When we did our Emmys episode, right, we talked about how annoying it is when people are just like show up for a little bit and then they get an Emmy nomination. People want that mini-series Emmy nomination, and they're going to do these shows to feed their own fucking egos. So we're going to get more of it, and I hope occasionally we get a performance that is so good that we're like, holy shit, that was absolutely worth this category still existing. Well, gentlemen, now that I've blown your brains and our flight has come to a land, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you want to be found. Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me reshaving Zachary Quinto's head because it looks really good on him. And you can also find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and myself over on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
Max?
You can find me figuring out which ethnicity just does make the best desserts, and on all things social media at Maxwell Sing.
That's the clip. Well, you can find me staring at Roku City, mouth agape. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. You can find the TV Pilot's License anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also watch our smiling faces on YouTube. Thank you for liking, subscribing, leaving reviews. Those really do help the show. And if you're looking for something to listen to over the Thanksgiving break, we're actually going to be putting out a really fun special Thanksgiving episode for y'all, so look out for that as well. If you have a question about the show or for our next episode, you can always email us at tvpilotslicense.com or shoot us a voicemail or leave us a text at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for sneak previews of some of the stuff that we have coming up on our social media channels. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until then, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
Take me down to the Roku City where the slaps are loud and the shows are shitty.